Hey everyone, ready to dig into some seriously cool prehistory?
Always up for that.
We're diving into Cyborgs versus the Earth Goddess by Seenarine.
Oh, cool. I've heard of that one.
It really flips the script on how we see early humans, especially, well, you'll see. Forget man the hunter.
Okay, ditching the hunter narrative. I'm intrigued.
Today, it's all about woman the gatherer.
Now that's a perspective you don't hear every day.
Right. It's fascinating how this book challenges, like, everything. It claims women provided up to 80% of what early humans ate.
80%. Wow, that's not just like bringing home snacks. That's the whole prehistoric grocery haul.
Exactly. It really makes you rethink those classic images of, men hunting while women passively wait around.
Yeah, totally. And it makes you wonder, like, what if we've had it backward all along? And here's another thought. Think about chimpanzees, our closest relatives. Their diet is like 95% plants.
Yeah, they're basically munching on leaves and fruit all day.
So if they're mostly plant-based, why do we assume our ancestors were all about the meat?
It's true. You don't see chimps setting up grills and cooking steaks.
Exactly. It's like judging a book by its cover, assuming early humans were all about meat just because, well, many of us are now.
It's all about challenging those assumptions, right?
Absolutely. But okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. How did this gathering actually work? Were women just, casually picking berries?
Oh gosh, no. It was way more complex than that.
Okay, good. Because casually picking berries just doesn't seem like it would sustain, well, anyone.
Right. The book paints this picture of women as, like, the ultimate plant whisperers. Imagine not just knowing what to pick, but how to process grains, make flour.
Flour. We're talking serious culinary skills here.
We're talking bread making over 30,000 years ago.
Okay, now that's impressive. Long before those fancy sourdough loaves, they were baking bread. That's incredible. Is there, like, any archaeological proof of this?
Oh, absolutely. They've actually found grinding stones, like with grain residue on them. And get this, they're dated back 105,000 years.
105,000 years. That's mind-boggling.
I know, right? This wasn't just a casual hobby. This was a complex system that was keeping entire communities going.
So while we often picture men out hunting mammoths, women were building the foundations of civilization.
One loaf of prehistoric bread at a time. I love that.
It changes the whole picture, doesn't it?
It really does.
And speaking of food, what about the whole paleo diet craze? Didn't our ancestors, just eat mostly meat?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting.
Hit me with it.
So those paleo diets today, they might be missing the mark a bit.
You're saying my almond flour paleo banana bread isn't historically accurate?
Not quite. The real deal was tubers, seeds, fruits. Those are the staples. Crucial, especially for brain development.
Okay, so more like a gatherer's diet than a hunter's diet. It makes sense.
Right. And think about the energy needed for pregnancy and breastfeeding.
Oh, that's right. I can't imagine doing that on just, like, meat and berries.
Right. Could early mothers have done that on a low-carb, mostly meat diet? Highly unlikely. They needed serious fuel.
And it seems like those early moms knew exactly how to get it.
They really did.
But there's more to this whole food thing than just, the food itself.
100%. It goes way deeper. This is where it gets really fascinating. The book dives into the microbiome.
Okay, microbiome. You're saying gut health matters, even in prehistory.
Even, or maybe especially in prehistory.
Yeah.
You see, we modern humans, we've got way less diverse gut bacteria than our primate relatives.
Less diverse. Like, our guts are less exciting than a chimp's.
Basically. And the book suggests this is linked to, you guessed it, eating more meat and processed foods, which were definitely less common back then.
So our modern diets, while maybe convenient and tasty,
Haven't exactly done our insides any favors.
not exactly. Okay, so less diversity, and this is where it gets a bit sciencey for me. How does that impact us?
Well, the book suggests that this lack of microbial diversity could actually be connected to a whole bunch of health problems we see today. It really makes you rethink that whole healthy diet thing.
It's like we traded in diverse gut flora for convenience foods, and, well, here we are.
It's a trade-off, that's for sure.
But this is just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? There's more to these women than just their diets and, bread-making skills.
Oh, so much more. You're right. This book isn't just about diet. It challenges how we see women in prehistory, period. If we've gotten the food story wrong, what else are we missing?
Okay, now you've got me really hooked. What else did these women get up to? Give me the inside scoop. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're picking up right where we left off digging into the fascinating world of Woman the Gatherer as described in Cyborgs versus the Earth Goddess.
It's really a fascinating perspective.
Totally. Last time we were talking about how these women weren't just like gathering food, they were basically running the show. What else can you tell us about their impact?
It's like, when you start pulling on a thread and suddenly you're unraveling a whole sweater.
Okay, I love that analogy, unraveling the whole prehistoric sweater. So what's the next thread we're pulling on?
Well, let's talk about fire.
Fire. Okay, yeah. Pretty essential for survival back then, right?
Essential. It was a game changer. And this book, Cyborgs versus the Earth Goddess, makes a strong case that it was women who harnessed its power.
Hold on. I always kind of pictured those early humans, huddled around fires started by lightning. You're telling me they can make fire themselves?
That's exactly what the book argues. And mastering it, that wasn't just about staying warm. It really did transform their lives.
It makes you think. While others were out and about, the women were probably keeping the home fires burning, right?
And then some.
Keeping everyone warm, safe, fed. Talk about a full-time job.
Absolutely. The book even suggests that women were like the master chefs of prehistory.
Now you're speaking my language. Prehistoric cuisine. Okay, tell me more. What were they cooking up?
Well, remember those tubers and roots we talked about?
Oh yeah, the paleo staples.
Firewood made those way more digestible, more palatable, unlocking even more nutrition.
So women basically invented baked potatoes.
Hey, maybe. But it wasn't just about cooking, though.
Right, of course not. What else?
Fire had this huge social and spiritual significance.
Okay, I can see that. Fire brings people together. What was going on around these prehistoric bonfires? Storytelling.
Exactly. Sharing stories, passing down knowledge and traditions.
Yeah, and at the heart of it all.
The women.
There they are again. It's like clockwork.
It really is. And this is where the book digs into just how female-centered those early societies might have been. This control of fire. That would have given them real power and influence.
That's a really good point. We always think of power as this like masculine thing, strength, dominance. But fire, yeah, it's powerful, but it's also about warmth, nourishment.
Exactly.
Those are definitely things we tend to connect with women's roles.
It makes you wonder if they understood those connections even back then.
Totally. And it wasn't just in the home, right? All this plant knowledge, the fire would have been crucial for spiritual stuff too, right? Oh, absolutely.
Like, were we talking shamans, healers?
Imagine them understanding the cycles of nature, the healing properties of plants, the rhythms of the earth.
They were like the bridge between the physical and the spiritual.
Exactly.
This is so cool. Okay, what other secrets are we about to uncover?
Well, remember those cave paintings we talked about?
Oh, yeah, with the animals and stuff.
The book made me look at those in a whole new light.
Really? How so?
It dives into their significance, suggesting they could be part of this much larger system of ecological knowledge.
Instead of just like hunting guides.
Right. It's suggesting that they were more like visual encyclopedias.
Yeah.
Created and preserved by women.
Get out of here. You're saying they weren't just recording hunts, but documenting all the animals, the plants, how everything worked together. They were recording their deep knowledge of the natural world.
It's like a whole different way of seeing the world. It's so connected to nature, to intuition, to the feminine. Honestly, you're blowing my mind here.
And we're just getting started. The book goes even deeper.
There's more.
It explores how this connection with nature might have shaped their entire worldview. Spirituality, life, death, relationships.
It's like we're peeking into a whole new dimension of prehistory.
Exactly. We're seeing these women, these societies in a whole new light.
Okay, I need to know more. What else can you tell me about what they knew? What else did they do?
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of Woman the Gatherer from Cyborgs versus the Earth Goddess. And wow, this book has really changed how I see prehistory.
It's eye-opening, isn't it? Totally. We've gone from questioning man the hunter to uncovering a whole world of powerful women. They mastered fire, they were practically the first chefs, they were deeply connected to nature.
And there's still more. It gets even more interesting.
Okay, I'm ready. Lay it on me.
The book makes this really bold claim. It says these early societies weren't just female-influenced.
They were what?
They were probably full-on gynocentric cultures.
Wait, gynocentric? You mean like societies where women were the leaders, the decision makers?
That's exactly it. Now, obviously, we don't have written records from back then, but the book pieces together evidence archaeology, modern hunter-gatherer societies, how we interpret ancient myths and symbols.
Okay, so it's not just a wild guess. There's actual thought behind this idea.
Oh, yeah, and it builds a really compelling case that women held a very different kind of power than we usually see in history.
It's a huge shift. I mean, we're so conditioned to this idea of patriarchy, men holding the power. You're telling me it wasn't always this way?
That's exactly what the book is arguing. For millennia, human societies may have actually thrived under female leadership. And it wasn't about force or control. It was about cooperation, community, respect for the earth.
It sounds almost utopian.
Right. It really makes you think.
But what's the evidence? What makes them think that?
Well, for one thing, there are the Venus figurines.
Those curvy female forms, the ones they found all over prehistoric Europe.
Yeah, those ones. You might think, oh, they're just fertility symbols.
That's what I always thought.
And you'd be partially right. But the book suggests they could be more than that. They could actually represent powerful female deities worshipped by these ancient cultures.
So not just about fertility, but about goddesses, women who were revered for their wisdom, their connection to nature.
Exactly. And there's more. The book also looks at those massive stone monuments, the megalithic structure.
Okay, like Stonehenge.
Stonehenge is a great example, but there are tons of other equally amazing, but less famous sites all over the world.
I'm picturing these massive stones, ancient rituals. How do they fit into this whole gynocentric culture idea?
Well, the book points out that many of these structures are aligned with the cycles of the sun and the moon, the solstices, the equinoxes.
And who would have been the ones tracking those cycles, understanding the rhythms of nature? The women.
Exactly. They were in tune with those cycles. They gave birth. They understood the flow of life and death.
It makes perfect sense.
And the book suggests these megaliths weren't just random piles of rocks. They were intentionally designed ceremonial centers, places where people came together. And the ones leading these gatherings, the ones who understood these natural cycles best, the women.
It's like a whole lost world is coming to light. These women, they weren't just valued for having children, they were revered for their wisdom, their knowledge.
For their spiritual connection to the earth.
Exactly.
And here's the really interesting part. Cyborgs versus the Earth Goddess suggests this way of life, this partnership model, wasn't just some peaceful ideal. It actually worked. It allowed them not just to survive, but to truly thrive for thousands of years.
So if it was so successful, what happened? Why aren't we living in a gynocentric society now?
That is the million-dollar question. The book digs into some of the things that might have led to the decline of these cultures and the rise of patriarchy as we know it. Things like climate change, warfare.
Wow. So not just one thing, but like a perfect storm of factors.
Exactly. The development of agriculture, the control of resources, it's complex. And it wasn't something that happened overnight. It was gradual, playing out over centuries, millennia, in different ways all over the world.
So much to think about. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. From questioning those classic Man the Hunter images to discovering a whole lost world of powerful women shaping history. It's a lot to process. What does it all mean for us? What are we supposed to do with this knowledge?
That's the question the book leaves us with. It's not about romanticizing the past. It's about recognizing that there are other ways of being, other ways to structure society, other ways to relate to each other and the planet.
And maybe, just maybe, understanding those other ways can help us create a better future.
Exactly. It's about opening our minds to new possibilities.
It sounds like this book, Cyborgs versus the Earth Goddess, is more than just a history book. It's a call to action.
It really is. It challenges us to rethink everything we thought we knew about ourselves and the world around us.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those possibilities. If this deep dive has piqued your interest, I highly recommend checking out the book for yourself. It's a wild ride.
It really is. And it stays with you long after you finish reading.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deeper.